long supported. They're very different. If you're an Episcopalian, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you ever given money to the Sierra Club, hoping they'd, I don't know, protect the Sierras, you get it too. So everywhere in this country, formerly respectable organizations seem to have gone off the deep end. Have you listened to National Public Radio recently? Now, admittedly, NPR was always a little nutty, but in a familiar, non-threatening kind of way. Your average public radio station ran niche cultural programming most of the time, the Celtic Music Hour or a bluegrass show. In fact, for decades, public radio's most popular feature was something called Car Talk. Remember that? It was a show where two Italian mechanics from Boston, hilarious, both of them, argued about the relative merits of carburetors versus fuel injections. They gave you free advice on how to fix your Honda. And then in the morning, and again at night, as always, in drive time, all NPR stations aired the news from Washington. There was Morning Edition in the morning. There was All Things Considered on the trip home. NPR anchors were left of center, obviously, but more than anything, they were self-consciously upmarket. They spoke in comically stilted voices designed to suggest deep erudition. You could imagine them reading a lot of Rilke in their spare time and having complicated opinions about wine. This is NPR, they'd say, National Public Radio. It was all pretty amusing, easy to mock, but it was basically harmless. NPR didn't call for violent revolution or denounce white people as demons. That did happen on some radical stations like Pacifica, but not at NPR. At NPR, they were just dopey, self-important 70s-style liberals. The kind of dangly earrings and composting bins in their yards. Not anymore. You ought to listen to NPR now. Actually, don't listen. We pulled the clips for you. Keep in mind that what you're about to hear is entirely real. All of it aired on NPR over just the last few weeks. First up is a segment about dieting, and that seems like a sensible topic. Obviously, the country could use some help dropping weight, particularly with COVID in the air. But NPR doesn't run straightforward segments anymore on anything. So it never occurred to them to air a feature about how to rid yourself of extra Christmas pounds. No, a segment like that would be racist. It has nothing to do with equity or marginalized communities. So instead, here's how NPR approached dieting. Listen.
I am a Chinese American non-binary therapist and psychologist and DEI consultant.
Chang specializes in research and treatment of eating disorders within marginalized communities in the Bay Area. They say decoupling from diet culture is often eye-opening and also uncomfortable.
Decoupling from diet culture. Are you following this? By the way, you can't even have a conversation without certain prerequisites. If you're going to talk about dieting on NPR, you're going to need a Chinese-American non-binary therapist and psychologist and DEI consultant to do it. A mere nutritionist won't cut the mustard. Those are the new rules at NPR. But actually, come to think of it, don't talk about dieting.
Oh my God.
Dieting is racist. It's part of white supremacy culture. Here's NPR's explanation.
Sabrina Strings is a professor of sociology at the University of California, Irvine, and author of the book, Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia. Her extensive research shows that the fat phobia so prevalent in today's society was largely a product of two elements working together to anoint Europeans as superior to all others. The thing is, the BMI was never meant to measure individual health, and again, was based purely on studies of white men.
My
Does
God.
Believe any of this? So here's NPR, National Public Radio, telling you that your weight has nothing to do with your health. It's decoupled, as they might say, from your health. And if you think otherwise, you're engaging in fat phobia. And that means you, Mr. American, must ignore the COVID numbers, the numbers that suggest being overweight is in fact a major risk factor for death. In fact, the biggest risk factor for death among the young. But keep in mind, those statistics compiled by white men. The real problem with being fat, says NPR, is that you're constantly being oppressed by racist diet culture.
Oh my God.
And a lot of their personal writing focuses on navigating the world as fat. Take airplanes, restaurants, movie theaters. Entry is limited to an assumed body size. We might consider basic accommodations like doorways or seatbelts as value neutral, but that only shows us how much diet culture has influenced the design of our world.
I can't take it anymore.